Greetings, everyone. I'm Brett. Welcome to For the Republic, just a black guy with a microphone. Today I got some stories I want to share with you and give you my perspective on them. We're in very, very politically divisive times. Twitter is a cesspool of insanity. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, check the link in the description to see just how crazy it is. But I've got a few stories I want to share with you guys. I want to start off with probably one you're hearing about in the media the most, the Brett Kavanaugh selection for Supreme Court Justice, and what's going on right now with this pick, and whether or not it's political or not, and whether or not we should stop this confirmation and do a big investigation. Brett Kavanaugh has been, it's laughable, but at the same time it's one of those jokes you don't want to laugh at on the 1 in a million chance that there's something behind it. But Brett Kavanaugh has been accused of sexual misconduct or lewd acts. I would say lewd acts, based on what I heard, which was described by this woman, Christine Blasey Ford. She said that over 30 years ago, that Brett Kavanaugh was 17 and she was 15 at a party, and that he was drinking, and he and another person had her in this room, and he held her down and fondled her breast and helped put his hand over her mouth and told her not to scream. Now, the person that Miss Ford claims was in the room with Brett and herself completely refuted this allegation and said it had never happened. Brett Kavanaugh also stated that he'd never done this to her or anyone else, and he said he'd like to go before the Senate once again and go through whatever processes that they have for him to go through so he could categorically refute this allegation. Now, the question is, are we as a society, I'd like to think that there are more moderates in the world than there are staunch Republicans or Democrats. I'd like to think that more of us are maybe in the middle, willing to give, willing to bend, for the sanctity of sanity. But is this a situation where we're searching for truth, or is it a situation where what the Democrats have said they're going to do at all costs, they're actually trying to do? Now, the reason I ask that is because the Democrats' mantra, and really for many people on the far left, their mantra since Trump's inauguration has been resist. We're going to resist. The only thing that they don't resist is insanity. But they want to resist every policy that Donald Trump enacts. They want to resist. They resisted Brett Kavanaugh before Trump even acknowledged him being the Supreme Court Justice. They said they were going to resist whoever he chose, which is really a bad place to start because then there's no conversation. But they wanted to resist at all costs. They said they would resist any Trump nominee. And so you wonder if this is a political stunt or if it's really a fact that they want to get to the truth of potentially what happened with Miss Ford. Apparently, Dianne Feinstein sat on this information for 2 months. She had this allegation, this unproven allegation from over 30 years ago, and she sat on it for 2 months. For me, as a critically thinking adult, and I say adult in quotes, you have this information for 2 months and you don't do anything with it, but yet you wait until 1 week before Brett Kavanaugh's not inauguration, but confirmation. You wait until 1 week before he's confirmed to drop it like a bomb. Doesn't really sound like you're out for truth to me. It sounds like it's a political hit job. If you were really looking for truth, you would look at this lady's story. You'd find out you talk to her senator, wherever the other senator. She sent it to another Democratic senator who forwarded it to Dianne Feinstein. Find out who she is. Get in contact with her months ago. Find out if there's any validity to her story. Speak to Brett Kavanaugh about it. Brett Kavanaugh had been to your office numerous times, Dianne Feinstein, in the last 2 months. You'd spoken to him privately. You could have brought this up and said, hey, we've got this kind of salacious story from over 30 years ago. There's really no way to validate its authenticity. We don't know if there's any way we can prove this, but there's a young lady. Her name is Christine Blasey Ford. She claims it back over 30 years ago when you guys were in high school that you and she and another person were in a bedroom at a party, and you did some questionable things to her. Do you recall anything like this happening? But she didn't. She didn't mention it at all during his confirmation hearing. And that lasted for, I want to say, 36 hours. It was insane how long they had him in there. But it wasn't mentioned once. And so, to me, it looks like a political hit job. The young lady who supposedly made this complaint stated that she did not want to be identified. You don't go through all these rabbit holes of, talking to news agencies and getting lie detector tests and hiring attorneys and all this stuff if you don't want to be identified. To me, it's something is off in this whole story. Now, they've gotten to the point where Chuck Grassley and the Senate committee, they've decided to postpone Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation this week until next week. So they're going to wait until Monday. They're going to give this young lady, Miss Ford, an opportunity to come in and speak her piece and speak her truth. And they're going to give Brett Kavanaugh an opportunity to defend himself against these kind of allegations. Now, as a father of 5, I've got kids in high school and I've got 3 little girls. I saw Brett. His name's Brett. My name's Brett too. I saw that he has young little girls, and for someone to make these kind of allegations and you've never heard of them before, you never heard of these allegations, I'm just trying to imagine how that'll affect your personal life, how it'll affect maybe the relationship you have with your wife. But, this is way before he met his wife. But these people who know Brett Kavanaugh have come out and speaking very highly and defended his name. This guy is known for hiring many women and giving female attorneys and lawyers an opportunity to flourish and thrive in a very competitive field, law. And I can't say this for a lot of men because, opposites attract. Things are said. You might look into someone's eye one day and you might see a twinkle that you never saw before. But based on what I saw of these young ladies who went before the Senate and they spoke on behalf of Brett Kavanaugh, he's one of the most upstanding men I've ever seen. I saw someone this morning on the news who actually worked with him during a time that she was single and he was single, and he still never made a move. He was completely above board, above reproach, very professional, treated people with, respect and dignity, and he didn't belittle a person because they were a female. And you got 30 years to look back at this man's track record. Does that mean nothing? I may have said and done things in high school that I don't do today, and I might not remember them. But is it fair, especially, with the stringent steps that are taken by the FBI when they're, investigating and looking into the background of a potential Supreme Court justice? He's been investigated by the FBI 6 times. That's insane. And this never came up, not once, not a sniffle of it. And then all of a sudden, a week before his confirmation, it pops up. And it's a very sad thing to see, for me on both sides, because if this is someone using this allegation simply for political gain, it belittles the women in the world who really are mistreated in the workplace. It belittles the women who really are sexually assaulted, all for political gain. And I think Dianne Feinstein should be ashamed of herself for, she never brought this up to any other members of the committee. She never mentioned it to Brett Kavanaugh during his Senate confirmation hearing. And she waited until a week. I guess the moral of the story is a Democrat, in order to attain a particular political goal, they will destroy you. They will destroy you personally. They'll destroy you professionally. They'll destroy your family, all for political gain. And this is what it looks like. I mean, this is not the first time we've seen this. This is what they do every time when they're trying to oust a potential rival in the political arena. They go after you personally. And many times they make things up. Of course, if you're a Democrat and you're going against a Republican, the first thing you do is call him a racist, and then you turn him to a sexist, and for some reason people really believe it. Now, I hope more of America is waking up to what is really happening here. This is what appears to be a very noble and good man who has treated the law as it should be treated, a person who owes no allegiance to anything but the Constitution. I listened to this guy's Senate confirmation hearing, and I listened to him talk to, Congress, and the man is very bright, and he knows what he's talking about, and he's doing callbacks to, milestone cases where, precedent was set, and, the importance of existing precedent, and the importance of the Constitution as it was written versus the way you want it to be. And I guess we'll all have to wait and see. But my thoughts are this is a political hit job. I think that the Democrats don't care about, you can look across the table and see a noble person. You got Kamala Harris, Jay-Z with a wig, attacking this man and then creating a fake commercial and trying to make it appear that he said birth control was abortion-inducing drugs when he was actually talking about a case. These people are lower than dirt. And you're looking at someone who used to identify as a Democrat before I woke up and realized what the hell was happening in this country. We'll have to wait until Monday to see what's going to happen here with Brett Kavanaugh and with Miss Ford. Supposedly, they've opened up the Senate for this potential meeting of she and Brett so they could, talk this out. Whether or not they need to do it publicly is up to them. I don't believe that they have to. I think, well, it may be better. Maybe they'd have to. If you can have Devin Nunes and Adam Schiff go behind closed doors to a private meeting and come out and say completely conflicting things, it means someone's lying. And so if you know one person's lying, like Adam Schiff, to me, strikes me as one of the most devious and conniving, bug-eyed people in Congress. And everything he says to me comes off as a complete lie. And so when they come out and lie and say things like, I have evidence that there was Trump-Russia collusion, but there's no evidence, and everyone who's investigated has no evidence, that means you're a liar. And so when you can't go behind closed doors and come out and lie, you act like an animal house the way the Democrats do in front of the public. These people have real problems. We'll find out what happens Monday. And from what I'm understanding, Miss Ford isn't responding to Chuck Grassley and his invitation to come and speak her piece. And that's making this whole thing sound a little more fishy. As I said, hold judgment until we find out what's going to happen next week. But I have a nagging suspicion that Brett Kavanaugh, a conservative judge, will be appointed to the Supreme Court sometime next week. And he'll be able to start off next month, at the beginning of the month, doing the good work for the American people. You guys let me know what you think about Brett Kavanaugh. Do you think that the Democrats have planned this little political coup d'etat to potentially stop him before the midterms and do all kinds of crazy investigations and consort with the FBI? Or do you think that they're really looking for the truth? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing to the For the Republic channel, because we do this for the Republic.